Hey guys, welcome to Red 50. Thank you for tuning into another video. If you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. So, and today we'll be talking about the most frequently asked question about owning a Mustang. Can you drive the Mustang in the snow? I own a 2019 Mustang GT and I've had this Mustang for 2.5 years. Before this, I actually owned a 2006 Mustang GT, which I also kept for around 3 years. And both of my Mustangs were daily drivers, so I drove them year round regardless of the weather. So using my personal experience, I want to be able to answer the question if you can drive the Mustang in the snow. Whether you've got the GT or the EcoBoost, it doesn't matter. Well, the truth is, to be honest, it depends on where you live and how much snow you get. But in this video, we will be covering some of the critical tips that will allow you to drive your Mustang in the snow. So first thing first, as you know, my 2019 Mustang GT has 460 horsepower. But even stock Mustang EcoBoost nowadays come with 310 horsepower, which is plenty fast, which also means that you can easily lose some traction and can get yourself in some serious trouble. Now, as you guys already know, that the Mustang is a rear-wheel drive coupe with a long hood and a short rear end, which means if there are traction issues with that kind of power, even at stock levels, it's going to be easy for the Mustang to spin around and lose control compared to, let's say, like a front-wheel drive coupe or, better yet, all-wheel drive coupe. So as you can see already that the Mustangs are at a great disadvantage when it comes to driving in the snow or even in the rain, to be honest. Like if you got caught up in a heavy rain, it can be a little bit problematic. So the most important factor in determining whether you can drive your Mustang in the snow depends on where you live and how much snow you typically get, as we discussed earlier. For areas with extreme winters or even somewhat extreme winters with consistent snow of at least 3-4 inches, then it's extremely difficult to navigate around with your Mustang. And more than likely you will be stuck in the snow even if the roads are cleaned up, as you can certainly encounter patches of black ice or snow in the residential areas and local roads where the cleanup process hasn't really started. So I advise you to use some sort of other transportation in the winters, because honestly Mustang is just not going to cut it for those kind of snow. Not to mention, even at the stock ride level, the Mustang is pretty low, so it's easier to get stuck than, say, maybe a sedan or better yet a crossover. However, if you live in areas with some snow like I do, like would occasionally get a couple inches of snow, not more than that, and if there is a snowstorm or there's like 5-6 inches of snow, everything is pretty much closed, so you don't have to worry about going to work and all that stuff. So basically, if you're living in that kind of area where you have occasional snow, then you can definitely drive your Mustang in the snow, like I have done it for a previous couple years. Now, there are a couple key things that will definitely help you out. First thing is going to be the drive modes. If your Mustang is equipped with the drive mode, then snow and wet mode will really help you drive your Mustang in the snow. In order to find out if your Mustang is equipped with the snow and wet mode, you're going to need to have a 301A package on the Mustang GTs or a 101A package on the Mustang EcoBoost. And you'll also have, the obvious pointer would be, you'll also have the toggle switches that change up the drive modes. Snow and wet mode on the Mustang really makes the throttle sluggish, so there's no sudden change in power, which makes it difficult to spin out. In addition, the snow and wet mode is also slow to downshift unless you really give it some gas. So this really helps not having accidental gas pressing with the downshifting, and the power increases, which means there could be potential traction issues. I personally always use the snow and wet mode on my 2019 Mustang GT every time I take the Mustang out to be driving in the snow. I feel like it just adds a layer of protection and just makes me feel safer. Even during like maybe heavy rainfall, I would switch it to that because it helps not to downshift. I feel like the most important thing I've noticed is it makes the throttle very sluggish, but when you're pressing gas, it doesn't downshift very quickly unless it detects that the car needs to downshift to be going. It's not going to downshift, so there's no external downshift that will cause you to kind of spin out. So I highly recommend using the snow and wet mode if you have to drive in the snow. Now, snow and wet mode is great and all, but if you do encounter frequent snow, maybe it's still a couple inches, 2-3 inches, but the frequency of it is pretty high, then what you can do to make it even more safer for you and everyone around you is get some winter tires. Now, this is something that will really help your Mustang drive in the winter, especially in the snow. The traction with the winter tires is just unbelievable. Of course, you're still going to have the disadvantage of being a rear-wheel drive coupe with a long hood and everything, but just having the snow tires, the winter tires, whatever you want to call it, is really going to help your Mustang get some traction. You can swap out your existing tires to winter tires, and you'll experience a significant change in your Mustang's ability in terms of gaining traction during snow condition. Of course, this method costs a lot as you would need different wheels and tires and can set you back at least $1,200 to $1,400, if not more, depending on the size of wheels you want to go with and the type of snow tires you want to go with. Now, obviously, depending on the frequency of the snow in your state or where you're located, this may not make as much sense to drop that kind of money if it's only going to snow 5 to 6 times throughout the year. With that being said, if you can really afford the snow tires, I would highly advise you to get the snow tires regardless of how much it snows in your state or wherever you're located, because having snow tires is probably the best protection you can get while driving your Mustang in the snow. Now, if you do want to get some snow tires but you want to cost cut as well, you can certainly do so by using the snow tires on your existing wheels. Doing that way, the snow tires are probably going to cost you around $600-700. Of course, you run the risk of, potentially damaging your wheel with the salt and everything that's going to be on the road throughout the winter, but it's still safer than getting in an accident. So having the snow tires with, your existing wheels is probably your best bet to be safe driving your Mustang in the winter without having any potential accidents. Alternatively, what you can do is also buy some sandbags from your local Home Depot or Lowe's. They typically cost about $5 for a 50-pound bag. I actually did that on my 2006 Mustang GT, where I bought 3 sandbags for 50 pounds each for about a total of 150 pounds and placed them in the trunk. This helps put more weight on the rear of your Mustang. Like we said, the Mustang has a very short rear end and a long hood, so the weight distribution kind of makes it easier for the Mustang to spin out. But if you put the weights like we talked about with the sandbags, it really helps with some of the weight distribution and gives you a little bit more traction. Of course, it's not going to be a fix where you're driving in adverse conditions, but it certainly helps if you're just trying to get to the store or something like that, and applying the throttle gently and everything, maybe using the snow and wet mode as well. So I think to sum it up, if you have other means of transportation, then definitely use that regardless of how much snow you get, as due to the Mustang being rear-wheel drive with a long hood, it will be very easy to spin out if you lose traction, despite the measures we just discussed that you can use to make it a safer ride. Because if you have a front-wheel drive car, or better yet, all-wheel drive car, it's just inherently going to be better than a rear-wheel drive car. But if you must drive it in the snow and have no other car, then it's totally doable if your state doesn't experience too much snow. And even then, it is highly advisable to use the winter tires or at least some sandbags to help with traction. Additionally, the snow and wet mode will be your friend to help you drive your Mustang in the snow. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash the like button and comment below if you daily drive your Mustang, especially throughout the snow. And as always, subscribe to Red 50 for more Mustang content.